So what's behind me is 78 acres called the Shroud property. And what the Shroud property has on it, it has different heavy metals, contaminants that were actually illegally dumped into here. We have a lot of the heavy metals that adversely affect the human body. I met one of the organizers for Coalition to Ban Pet Coke. They gave me a pamphlet about pet coke, and as I was reading it, I'm thinking about it, and one of my kids was telling me, he's like, is that why my sister has to take an inhaler? I've never had asthma. The kid's mother's never had asthma. We've never had asthma on our sides of the family. Then it dawned on me, what is in our air?
My family themselves, they host a lot of different kind of health impacts. So for example, when we were dealing with the pet coke issue, I had a lot of, at the time, like chest problems and respiratory issues that we couldn't find any connections to. In general, growing up, just a whole host of different health problems. I've had a lot of family members that have had cancer, family members that, even when they end up in remission, it'll come back. And honestly, it's like we're still in the area, but there's still nothing that's changed, so it's not surprising, really.
Every dirty industry that comes on this river is another nail being hammered into the coffin of the life of every single child and senior that lives in our community. I'm a father, and I have to change this before it becomes my kids' problems that they have to take on. I take my kids to Wolf Lake, which is on the other end of the river, the other end of the street from this site, and there we go fishing. Anything we catch, we put back into the river because we don't know what's in that water. Our community at one time used to be the proud Steel City center of Chicago. And now we're being buried, our history is being buried by layers of contamination, layers of pet coke.
Growing up, we drive past the industrial corridor, and I never thought anything of it. I would see all this junk along the riverbanks, and I thought it was standard, until I would go to school. And I was going into the north side and passing the Chicago riverfront, and it was just vastly different. As a human, it makes no sense, the difference in the way that you're treated, and you have to do something about it, because at the end of the day, regardless of your class, regardless of your racial background, it makes no difference. You should be treated with the same type of equity, the same type of quality of life and environmental conditions that don't put a risk on health, that don't put a risk on, community vitality.
As long as this is openly stored and it's not contained and it has a creek running adjacent to it, it's openly contaminating the surrounding areas. When the wind blows, how far is this dust going? We don't know. The industrial footprint is separated by a 6-foot chain link fence, and then there's residents on the other side of that. How can that honestly contain any type of material that may be hazardous to our community?